You don't hate conversation. You hate conversations that pretend to be meaningful while saying nothing at all. The kind where words move, but nothing is actually exchanged. Where responses are automatic, smiles are rehearsed, and the goal isn't understanding, it's completion. When small talk begins, your mind senses the ceiling immediately. You can feel how far this exchange will go, how safe it will stay, how carefully nothing real will be touched. And that awareness creates a quiet fatigue before the conversation even warms up. This isn't impatience, it's attunement. You're sensitive to when language is being used as filler instead of expression. You notice when curiosity is absent, when questions aren't meant to open anything, only to pass time. For you, words are meant to reveal something. When they don't, they lose their weight. And once words lose meaning, staying engaged feels like pretending you didn't notice. The brain that refuses to stay shallow. When someone speaks, your mind doesn't stop at the words. It automatically looks underneath them. Tone, intention, hesitation, what's being avoided. Conversation isn't just sound to you, it's data. Small talk relies on scripts, predictable questions, predictable answers, safe emotional distance. But your brain doesn't run well on scripts. It searches for meaning, patterns, and coherence. When it can't find any, it disengages. This is why shallow conversations feel strangely heavy. Your mind keeps trying to go deeper, but there's nowhere to go. It's like pressing on a door that was never meant to open. You're not bored because you lack social skill. You're bored because your cognition is depth-oriented. Your brain wants substance, not repetition. And when conversation offers only surface, your attention naturally drifts inward, where things still feel real. Emotional honesty versus social performance. Small talk often asks you to perform rather than participate, to sound interested without being curious, to smile without feeling connected, to exchange words without revealing anything real. And that's where the discomfort begins. You're not unwilling to engage. You're unwilling to fake engagement. There's a difference. When conversation becomes a performance, your body notices the mismatch between what's being said and what's being felt. That mismatch creates tension. For you, emotional honesty matters more than social smoothness. You'd rather have a slightly awkward moment that's real than a perfectly polished exchange that means nothing. You sense when friendliness is being used as a mask instead of a bridge. This doesn't make you cold or intense. It makes you sincere. You don't avoid small talk because you lack warmth. You avoid it because warmth without truth feels empty, and emptiness is exhausting to sustain. Childhood conditioning and early maturity. For many people who hate small talk, this preference formed early. You learned young that listening mattered more than speaking, that understanding what was really happening was more useful than saying the right thing. You became observant before you became expressive. Maybe the adults around you spoke in code. Maybe emotions weren't explained, only implied. Maybe saying the wrong thing had consequences. So you learned to read the room instead. Over time, you grew fluent in subtext. That fluency doesn't disappear in adulthood. It becomes part of how you relate. You notice what conversations avoid. You sense when people are speaking out of habit rather than intention. Small talk can feel infantilizing because you outgrew it early, not intellectually, but emotionally. You learned that words could carry weight, and now you struggle to pretend they don't. Cognitive load and social exhaustion. What drains you isn't talking. It's carrying conversations that go nowhere. Small talk asks you to stay alert without being engaged, to invest attention without receiving insight. That imbalance creates cognitive load. Your mind keeps scanning for meaning, connection, or direction, and when none appears, it has to work harder just to stay present. This is why a few minutes of shallow conversation can feel more exhausting than hours of deep discussion. You're not low energy. You're selective with energy. You instinctively conserve mental bandwidth for exchanges that matter. When conversation lacks substance, your system experiences it as wasted effort. This is also why you may seem quiet in groups but come alive in one-on-one conversations. It's not social avoidance, it's efficiency. Your mind doesn't disengage from people. It disengages from noise disguised as connection. The intelligence and curiosity link. People who hate small talk often carry a quiet hunger for understanding. Your mind isn't satisfied with surfaces because it's naturally oriented toward patterns, causes, and meaning. You don't just want to know what is happening. You want to know why. This kind of curiosity makes shallow exchanges feel restrictive. They limit the range of questions you're allowed to ask and the thoughts you're allowed to explore. Conversation becomes a narrow hallway instead of an open space. You may notice that once a discussion turns toward ideas, emotions, or experiences with depth, something in you wakes up. Your energy shifts. Your words come easier. This isn't coincidence. It's alignment. This trait is often linked to high cognitive engagement. Your brain is built to connect dots, challenge assumptions, and explore nuance. Small talk doesn't stimulate that process. It interrupts it. And your resistance to it is your mind protecting its natural mode of thinking. Why society misreads this trait. In most cultures, small talk is treated as social glue. It's seen as politeness, warmth, even emotional intelligence. So when you opt out of it, people often misinterpret your silence. They assume disinterest, arrogance, or social discomfort. What they don't see is that you're not disengaged. You're discerning. You don't confuse talking with connecting. You don't equate noise with closeness. Society rewards those who can perform ease. You value those who can offer truth. That difference alone is enough to make you seem out of step. This misreading can follow you for years, quietly shaping how others label you and how you explain yourself. But the problem was never your capacity for connection. It was the assumption that all connection must begin at the surface. When small talk is avoided versus when it's tolerated. There's an important distinction most people miss. You don't reject small talk out of rigidity. You reject it when it's the only option, when it blocks access to anything real. You can tolerate surface conversation when it serves as a bridge rather than a destination, when it opens into something more honest, when curiosity eventually replaces politeness. The difference lies in intention. If small talk is being used to warm up, you stay. If it's being used to avoid depth, you quietly step back. This is discernment, not avoidance. You're not afraid of people. You're attuned to where connection is possible. And when it isn't, you don't force yourself to pretend otherwise. That restraint isn't coldness. It's self-respect. Reclaiming conversation on your terms. Once you understand why small talk drains you, something subtle shifts. You stop blaming yourself for not fitting into conversations that were never designed for how you think. You stop forcing engagement where none is possible. Instead, you begin to choose environments, people, and moments that allow depth to emerge naturally. One thoughtful question, one honest answer, one shared silence that doesn't need filling. You learn that you don't need to dominate conversations to make them meaningful. You just need to participate where meaning is welcome. This is where your energy returns, where words feel alive again instead of obligatory. Conversation stops being something you endure and becomes something you curate, not out of superiority, but out of respect for your own mind. When you speak on your terms, connection stops feeling performative and starts feeling real. You were never meant for shallow waters. People who hate small talk are often made to feel difficult, distant, or hard to read. But beneath that label is something much quieter and more precise, a mind that listens carefully, a nervous system that doesn't confuse noise with connection, a person who values meaning over momentum. You weren't built to skim the surface of interaction. You were built to dive, to notice what others overlook, to sit with ideas, emotions, and truths that don't fit into quick exchanges. Your discomfort with small talk was never a social failure. It was information, a signal pointing toward how your mind is designed to engage with the world. And the real question isn't whether you should learn to tolerate shallow conversation. It's whether you're ready to honor the depth that's been asking for something real all along.